How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. So the Amsterdam Dance Event is super busy, but super fun to do actually. Everyone in the international industry is here, and yeah, it's brilliant. I love it.
Does it feel like a coming home a bit?
Yeah, actually, so usually my highlight is Miami Winter Music Conference, which obviously feels very alien to me, and to have something like this in like a home situation area is great.
Well, before we talk about the music you're currently making, I'd like to go back to the beginning just quickly. Do you remember the first album you ever bought?
The first album I ever bought, wow, that must have been something by Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Maybe the Off the Wall album or the Thriller album, yeah.
Was there maybe one song or that attracted to you in particular?
Yeah, probably Beat It or something like that.
Okay, then, do you remember what about Michael Jackson it was that you found appealing?
Well, it's a tricky thing because you're a kid and you don't really know what's going on, but later in life I found out that the production is incredible on it, and the amount of the sense of how even a little kid can sing it along is great. So I think that it was that, and I actually really liked his image back then as well, and especially in the Beat It and Thriller area. I think he went a bit off in bad. But yeah, that definitely appealed to me.
And then, what age was this approximately?
Yeah, so I must have been about, 6 to 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was definitely an early interest in music.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I actually have been writing lyrics since I was 4 years old. My dad used to always listen to a band called The Shadows, and basically The Shadows didn't have a singer. So it was all instrumentals, and I would listen as a 4-year-old writing my own lyrics on it.
Well, this is going to be a silly question, but what would they be about?
Well, just random stuff, but really about, I think something was like dancing in the disco rain, and just like superficial stuff, like feeling happy, feeling good.
Okay, but so there was the desire to create music was already there from basically the beginning.
Absolutely. Well, I come from a musical family as well, and so the funny thing is my mom, when it was her birthday, she, instead of inviting all her friends over, she would host a show with some of her friends. My mother's name is Lucy, and she would call it the Lucilla Show. And so everyone that came into the living room was watching this show, and she had like costume changes, and she was dancing and performing, and I was like a kid of 4 years old, and my dad, his role in this whole thing was making the background music. So he had like an early drum computer doing the rhythms, and he would play guitar, and this is the family I grew up in.
Okay, so yeah, your route was already picked out in a way.
Yeah, pretty much, I guess, because yeah, performing has always been in the family and been in the blood, and music as well. And so I was always the family member that couldn't play the instruments as well as the others. My brother is an amazing drummer, for instance, and if I try and do some drummings, although I'm really good at behind the decks, I get like offbeat and I don't know which limb to, and so they always made fun of me actually.
Okay.
And when I found out I could make music with a computer, I could finally unleash all this music that I had in my mind and put it into the computer.
What age was this?
So when I found out I could make music with a computer, I was about 15 years old.
Okay. And then, so then you start making your own productions. What kind of thing would inspire you for a song?
So basically anything that I would listen to. I was very much inspired by technotronic, pump up the jam, early Prodigy stuff, kind of UK ravey stuff, but also houseier stuff. A big classic, a personal classic of mine is Robin S. Show Me Love. So I would try and make all that kind of music on the computer.
And at what point, well, was there a certain point that you thought, well, I can do this professionally, I can do this as a career?
Well, it was a hard one. Actually, it took many years to finally break through and to try and make a living of this. So I have a degree in graphic design. I did that for my label for a couple of years. So that was cool. I was making my own labels for my own music. And it was up until the end of the 90s that I started breaking through as a techno DJ in the Netherlands, that I could live of music.
Was there a turning point in terms of the music, in terms of maybe you did something different that made it through? Or?
Well, my music always has been quite successful from the start. I remember putting out my third vinyl, and we got a fax of Deep Dish. They said, you know, Laidback Luke is the bomb, and we absolutely love everything he does. And Carl Cox was really quick to play my tracks as a techno DJ. So that laid down a solid foundation. And I remember this one gig in the Netherlands. I started at Awakenings as a techno DJ, that I got an opportunity to close the night. And I was going to those parties for a while, so I knew exactly what the crowd wanted. So I finished the night, I tore the roof off, and people were climbing up the fences to find out my DJ name. And from there on, I could start as a professional DJ.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, for instance, Cox, who helped support your music. And in a similar way, that's what's happening nowadays, where a lot of artists, they have their own radio show to help promote up-and-coming artists. So how important was this for you, and similarly, how do you try to do it yourself?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, I've only met Carl Cox once, and I told him this, how thankful I was for the time he gave my tracks, and you know, it helped so much. And he was huge back then. He was huge. Well, he still is, I guess. And right now as well, even in my position, to have Hardwell play your songs or Calvin Harris support you really helps the new singles and tracks.
And in the same way then, because you have been in this industry quite a while, you have a lot of experience, do you try to help the younger generations as well?
Absolutely. That's one thing I've always set out to do since the late 90s, is that when coming up, I came across a lot of arrogant DJs myself, and I always promised myself that I would never want to become one of those, and I would always help like the younger versions of me. So I've set out to do that, and actually a lot of professional names that are famous right now, you know, came from my school. Okay. And I guide a lot of new talents. Yeah, tons of people, man. Like, you know, Afrojack, Avicii, but newer names as well. Dioro, who's gonna come into the DJ Mag Top 100 list as the highest climber this year. Yeah, so that's my thing, man. That's all I do with my label Mix Mash Records, is push new talent.
Because I believe what you just mentioned with some of the big names, this was done over the internet.
Yeah.
On a forum.
Yeah, this is through my forum on laidbackluke.com. It's still there.
Okay.
So I listen to demos, give constructive criticism, and try and help people to the next level.
When you set out to do this, was that something you were lacking when you were getting into the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was my motivation. I mean, I have a couple of people who I'm really thankful for, like the guys of Chocolate Puma, who always gave me great guidance, and the older generation of DJs that gave me my first shot, like DJ Remy and Roger Sanchez. Yeah, to me that's very important, and I don't get anything out of it really, other than just being very proud of the kids that will come through as the new talents. Blasterjacks as well. Blasterjacks are massive this year. Are you nuts?
Well, part of, well, in recent years, electronic dance music has taken on a whole different life than it had in the 90s, and when you were already around. So with this growing in popularity, is it difficult then to separate yourself musically from everything that's out there?
Well, I think the most important thing, and this is why I switched from techno, from being a techno DJ to, well, EDM or more commercial, is that I gave myself the freedom to make and enjoy anything I like. So basically techno is very limited. It's like a constant loop, and if you have too many vocals or too many this or that, then it's not techno, and then it's not cool, and that really broke me at a certain point. And now as well, I still give myself the freedom to do whatever I want, and to be as happy as I possibly can as a producer and as an artist. And it should be limitless, really. You can really do whatever you want.
But is that easy to do in the way the musical climate is now, and especially with labels who kind of they have to, I'm not sure if it works like this, but do they have to approve what you make?
Yeah, and even my own label, I need to run it through my people to get a track through, and this is actually good, because I think every track I make is the best track I've ever made, and they keep me down to earth, and they'll tell me, you know, maybe you should do this and that. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And actually what's very important is that you look at so this will sound very business, but this will be very helpful. So you look at 50% of what the crowd wants, what kind of situation we're in right now, and then 50% will just be you being stubborn, being an artist, being creative. And if you put the two together, you'll have a product that people will like, and that you're satisfied with as an artist. Okay.
Well, finally, I think Blow is one of the recent tracks you've been working on with Martin, I'm going to pronounce his name.
Solveig.
Solveig.
Yeah.
So can you quickly tell me how this song started, how you first met?
No, so Martin and I have been friends for ages. And funny quote, when he was about to release Hello, he was about to finish his career. He had been in the music industry and on the top level of France for a long time. And he was like, I don't know, man, so I'm just going to release one more track, and then it's done, and then it's finished. And Hello was a massive success, and it actually started a new and second career for him. So I was around for all of this, and it's great. We toured in Australia once last year, the year before even, Stereosonic. And we, in our downtime, he rented a studio to finish off his new single. And I came in one day and we made the start of Blow. And then I think a year later, we finally came to a finished version over the internet and bouncing it back and forth. And yeah, I want to touch base on my new single, which is very interesting. So we're releasing that during ADE right now. And tonight we'll have an announcement through Twitter Music of my new single. It's called Stepping to the Beat. And it's basically me taking Future House to the next level.
In what way?
So I'm bringing back the rave into Future House. I'm bringing back the fidget sound, which I used to love very much. So it's going to be it's going to be deep house influence with rave.
This versatility in that sense, to not be stuck to one specific genre of electronic dance music, and to continue developing, is that still really important to you?
Absolutely. I think life is about continuing to develop. So I'm older now, but I don't want to stop learning. And I want to keep evolving until I die. I want to keep making music until I die. And not a day goes by where I not learn a new thing. So, and this is what keeps the passion alive, and the fire, and the fun, and the joy. So whenever you try and think, you know, this is it, it's over, which I actually had back in 2004, I had reached this kind of high level in the Netherlands, presenting TV shows and you know, having hits and whatever. And I thought, this is it. I'm there. I made it. And then in 2005, no one wanted me anymore. I was done. So whenever you let that go, it's finished. So you always need to stay hungry and you'll continue delivering quality.
Quickly on that story you just mentioned, when you arrive at that point, does complacency come into it?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a tricky thing. Yeah, I made it. Or you wake up and you think, I'm fucking Laidback Luke. This is incredible. I'm flying all over the world. I play the biggest festivals. So yeah, this is it, man. The work is over. No, it's never over.
What in 2005 then turned it around again? Where you?
Well, in 2005, I got a wake-up call, and it was basically like people weren't playing my music. People didn't want my music. People weren't interested. And I was like, but last year I was like the hottest thing breaking through. What happened? And I just let it go. And I thought, I was the dude. And that's very dangerous. And this is why I always try and stay humble from that day onwards as well. As staying humble, is staying hungry, is keeping on developing. And that's, in the end, that's the best.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.